Truth-telling is the bedrock of good journalism. Straight from the heart on Sky 107.1 is that platform you can rooted and unbiased analysis. It is thought-provoking. It speaks nothing but the truth to whoever is involved. Our presenters remain impartial and are only interested in truth-telling. The program comes your way Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's speak from our hearts, heal our wounds, and build Mama Liberia for good.
Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. In a pray. Oh, let Liberia wake up, oh, wake up and do something. Oh, let Liberia try to settle things the way we used to be. Maybe it's all we need in our love control. Mama, I love you.
Wake up, my people. Can't you hear the song? Can't you see the shining sun? We've been sleeping so long. No time for guns. No time to do wrong. Say the war is gone. My people be strong.
Let Liberia wake up, oh, wake up and do something. Oh, let Liberia try to settle things the way we used to be. Maybe it's all we need in our love control. Mama, I love you.
Good morning and a pleasant welcome to another interesting edition of the program Straight from the Heart on Sky 107.1. We sincerely apologize for coming out to you at least a few minutes late. Well, it's due to some issues beyond our control. But it's good that we've started a brand new week with so much energy, passion for what we are doing, what we love doing best. And we also want to encourage you to develop interest in what you do. If you do, that's going to help you to ensure that you serve in whatever capacity you find yourself in whatever sector of our society you're in. Once you have love for that job you do, you're certainly going to do your best. We are waking up again this morning, and in fact, we were bed last night with the death news of Liberia's Walking the Story, and many young people call him as Walking the Encyclopedia, and former Liberia's information minister during the regime of Simon Kanyado. He died reportedly at age 71, Reverend Emmanuel Buyo. So yes, it's another sad moment in Liberia. A statesman has fallen. But we have a number of issues to talk about this morning. At 8 o'clock, we're going to be hearing from some young people, proactive journalists, by the way. The president of Legispo, Mr. Wilgre Yeager, is going to be joined by Omaska Jala of the newspaper. Also, we're hoping to be joined also by Mr. Gordon Gawie. Gordon is formerly of Prime FM, but Gordon now works with Lagra. We're also going to be reading our comment from Mr. Emmanuel Down. We're also hoping whether we can get him on the line as well to weigh in on why am I inviting journalists? I know someone is wondering right now. Yes, we are inviting these journalists to come and share with us their thoughts about the newly appointed Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information, the man who replaces Mr. Eugene Fagon, dismissed Minister Eugene Fagon. So Mr. Jarawa Tompo has been Director of Communication at the Liberian Senate for a long time now. So these young people I'm inviting have had some direct interactions with him. And since, in fact, they want to representing their various media institutions at the Capitol Hill, reporting directly from there. So they've had series of interactions with Mr. Jarawa Tompo. In fact, he's a lecturer also at the African Methodist Episcopal University. By the way, the president of Legispo, I'm told, he was taught he's still being lectured by Mr. Jarawa Tompo. So they're going to be giving us their fair analysis, not because they're journalists and he himself is a journalist and is a communication expert. what do they think? Can he take the bullets that come with that position? As Eugene Fagon said, that if you sit there, you have to make sure that you be proactive, and certainly you're going to be attacked many times. My name is Matthias Labindi. Today is the 28th of June, 2021. We're not taking any pause right now, so we're just going to go straight into the program. A number of things to talk about this morning, right? Waking up every Monday morning, stepping out, mostly to some people, it can be really, really tiresome. And it's tiresome so much so that because during the weekend, they experience a number of things, they get involved into too many activities that prevent them from, that mostly hinder their energetic, waking up from bed in the morning, that's Monday morning, to waking up slowly and tired and complaining about Monday. That I don't like Monday. It's not that you don't like Monday, it's because you get yourself exhausted during the weekend. So Monday you wake up, you just feel that you want a weekend to continue. And it doesn't work that way. So let's begin with something quickly, right? This is a sad news for Liberia. There are some of you today who are elders. I know you remember the late Emmanuel Buyo, Reverend Emmanuel Buyo, when he served as Minister of Information during the Simon Kanyado regime. Reverend Buyo is no more. We lost him to the cold hands of death. Reverend Emmanuel Buyo served as Information Minister during the regime of Simon Kanyado. He was known as the walking encyclopedia or a walking historian. I can't remember whether he wrote any book. Probably he contributed to some books through his expertise, because maybe some writers went to drink from the fountain of his knowledge. But Reverend Buyo did not write a book that I know of, except somebody want to tell me that, yes, this is what he wrote. But he was noted as the walking historian, and he was versed with a lot of things, from even taught men, even up to Joseph Jenkins Robert. He was an avid reader. He read, regularly, repeatedly. He was a man who, in fact, I paid him a visit many times, at his home. And he would say, when you enter his place, by the way, you see two areas, spacious areas, stocked with books. And I asked him a question one day, Reverend Buyo, of all the books you have here, how many books have you read? He said, if I have not read all of the books completely, but at least I have read a chapter in each of the books here. And we're talking about over 200 or 300 or maybe 400, 500 books, in his house. So he's read about over at least a page, not a page, chapter in each of the books in his house. So it speaks volume to the diverse information that he had to his disposal, because he was always reading. Today, we have waken up to the death news of this statesman. What is the Front Page Africa, saying? Reverend Emmanuel Buyo, the very former minister in late President Simon Kanyado's government, has died. Reverend Buyo succumbed to death after a long battle with diabetes. Close family members confirmed to Front Page Africa Sunday. He was pronounced dead at the Fidelity Clinic in Monrovia. He lives to mourn his wife, Mrs. Ruth Buyo, and 4 children, Joyce, Fit, Taino, and Willie. He was 71. In recent years, Reverend Buyo made his name as one of Liberia's noted and reliant historians. He served in recent years as a lecturer at the Foreign Service Institute at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was a stern critic of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and the current Weah-led government, and once predicted a fallout between President George Weah and Madam Sirleaf, just as the fallout between former presidents Edwin J. Barclay and William V.S. Todman in 1955. Reverend Buyo had often advised officials of the Weah-led government to focus more on building the image of the government rather than backbiting each other. He has often admonished President Weah to seek counsel from people who have had experience in handling issues of government and people who have vast knowledge on running a government. In short, you have children running the system because they think like children. It is often children who have the behavior of paying debt when someone does something to them. This is the problem with the government today, he said in an interview with Front Africa then. Reverend Buyo, who is famous for his history lecture series on many radio stations in the country, often expressed concern about the trending socio-economic issues of the country. He is also on record for saying that at age 80, he would become the president of Liberia, for which the Liberian people will ask him to rule them. 10 years from now, I will still be standing because I promised to be the president of Liberia between now and when I reach 80 years old. And when I am president, I intend to develop this country, empower the people, and let them enjoy and rejoice in the Lord. Therefore, from now on, we should all work together to make this country a better place so that when I am 80 years old, this country will be much better than what it is now. Reverend Emmanuel Buyo, they say dreams barely die, but he died with his dream of becoming president of Liberia. He never became president of this country. He died. He died at age 71. So at 70, he predicted becoming president of this country at 80 years. He said he would have still been strong, up to the age of 80. And at that time, he would be president of the country. So Reverend Buyo is no more. What do you remember Reverend Emmanuel Buyo for? For some of you who are elders now, who've been around for some time now, do you care sharing with us this morning what exactly you remember Reverend Emmanuel Buyo for? What is that particular thing that you remember this statesman for? By the way, he's no more now, and he's gone. Before I move on to one political news, let me quickly address the issue of police brutality against journalists. Over the weekend, I know many of you have come across that video circulating on social media involving a Liberian journalist in person of Mr. Trojan Kiazulu. Trojan, by the way, works with Fabric. Fabric is one of several media institutions that are a conglomerate of Spoon Communications Network. So Trojan, was somewhere on Broad Street as the video demonstrated. So Trojan saw this particular group of people. They are called whether the MCC or the Transport Ministry, but they went to tow a vehicle belonging to someone. Of course, the vehicle should belong to somebody. So the owner of this vehicle refused. The driver, the owner refused for his car to be towed because the car was probably parked at the wrong area, and that's what the guys do in the city. So at least they help to clear the traffic. Some people park their vehicles, recklessly. They just park. They do not do proper parking, and they take portion of the road with their car. So the police had gone to get that vehicle off that particular spot and taken to another area, where that person would pay a certain amount to free that vehicle. All right. So during that process, Trojan was around. Trojan himself, put his camera on and decided to scream this particular thing. And the police officer felt somehow, why is it that Trojan was screaming? So during that process, Trojan, was attacked because the police officer felt otherwise. So I'm just about to send this particular video to our producers so they can also scream it out there. Let's see it. I have a message to the Liberia National Police this morning. It's not really the usual analysis, but this is a lecture. I just want to provide a brief lecture for the motorcycle, not the motorcyclists, the Liberia National Police. I hope Patrick Sudu is listening, and I hope Moses Carter is listening. Guys, please, let's play this video first before I can get to, the message I have to send to the Liberia National Police. All their bosses, I hope they listen, they get a lesson, from this particular message we have to share with them this morning. So yes, I think our producers are getting that video on. So what basically happened is that these police officers in question were in public discharging what they consider as a responsibility. All right. So while discharging that responsibility, another person too who also has his own responsibility to the country was around. And you know who that person is? A journalist. So journalists too, we have our responsibility to the country. Our responsibility is to ensure that we report, and it is not the opinion of someone to determine newsworthy or not. It is the responsibility of a journalist through his study, through his discipline, to determine what news is. 5, 6, 7 journalists may attend a preference. They're not going to write that story from the same angle, because we all got our trainings. Yes, we all study journalism, but we have different minds and we see news differently. And whatever way we see news, from whatever angle we see news, it reaches out to someone out there. It reaches out to many people out there, and they accept that news report because that is exactly what we noted for. That's our responsibility. While some people will be condemning that you guys should focus more on more important things, others will be hailing that particular information we've provided because they appreciate the fact that, yes, this media outlet or this individual brought it out. That's the case with Trojan KwaZulu. So Trojan decided to scream this particular, thing, and the police officers got angry. The first question you will hear from this officer is somebody said to them, "This guy is recording you people. If you were stealing something somewhere secretly, then you will be somehow, careful. You'll be scared while someone is recording you. But if you think you're doing something in line with your responsibility, in line with your professional responsibility, why should you be afraid?" And the reason this is happening, I don't know why the producers here is taking long. I just want this video to be played so that we can have a conversation quickly with I can quickly open the lines and hear from the people. But before that, I have to say, a few things, right? So I don't want to get into saying those things until the video is played. Then I will say, yes, as you watch that particular video, you'll see that still more needs to be done with our security sector. You see, education that we talk about every day, that the porosity of our education system is making people to come out with fake degrees and fake credentials and all of that. I think it's not just sitting in the classroom. We need to provide some more education to several individuals, serving many roles in many areas, because they probably lack the basic discipline for the role they occupy. Are we set now with this video? All right. So yes, so it's just very important. But before that, I'll get back to that. I'll get back to that particular development. Let me quickly bring in this one that has to do with Senator Darius Dillon. So over the weekend, it was reported that Senator Darius Dillon wrote what should I call it? First class, right? But Senator Dillon, by the way, has responded. They say he did not get on the first class. He wrote economic class, but he walked to see a friend in first class. So I want to read exactly what Senator Darius Dillon is saying here. So Senator Dillon told the Front Page Africa that, yes, I did get on a plane to travel. Of course, that's what you need to do first before you travel. But I did not get on private, first class, as insinuated by many people. I did not get on the first class, but I got on the economic class. I had to go in just to see a friend, in first class. So that's why many people are now business class, not first class, but business class. So let me read this. After flaunting a picture of his presence in a business class cabin to announce his arrival in the United States of America, Montserrat County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon has clarified via a Facebook post that he rode on an economy ticket to the States. But Senator Dillon in the post stated that he had gone into the business class cabin to see a foreign friend. He also displayed a travel manifest To further prove he rode on an economy ticket and not business, as been insinuated from his earlier picture. On Thursday, Senator Dillon posted um, a picture of himself in a picture of him in a business class cabin on a plane with the note, "Good news for Montserrat County in Liberia. We have safely arrived in the USA. We'll be in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Minnesota next. Watch out for the results from our visit. Special appreciation to friends of Dillon and Madas. Our God is good." So this particular thing was not taken lightly by many people on grounds that Darius Dillon, being a man who promotes good governance, who promotes this issue of people respecting the rule of law. In fact, apart from respecting the rule of law, there's a man who said that his lifestyle was not going to be like other people. So people got concerned. Why is it that now he's in this particular class? Why is he in business class instead of economic class? So we're quickly going to get to that video where we told you about. But that's exactly what Senator Darius Dillon said, that he did not get on, business class as insinuated, but instead he rode economic class. He said, "We have safely arrived." Okay, this is a post that sparked serious, uproar, from the public, and people raised concerns about why is this guy so deceptive? Yesterday he said he would not have done certain things that others are doing. Why is he doing them now? But let's go back to this development. It's very interesting. A journalist, humiliated by police officers. His phone was taken. I've been trying to reach out to Trojan, but I'm yet to get him. Probably he's having issue with he has not gotten his phone back. So let's watch this particular video.
Where are you at?
Why taking picture? You take it? Yeah, but why taking the picture? Take it. But why taking the picture? You want to take it? Why taking the picture? You want a phone? Take it. I see now. I'm doing my work because I'm doing my work. Yeah. Do anything you want to do now. Yeah. Do anything. Arrest me now. Arrest me. Yeah. My order there. Arrest me now. Arrest me. And don't try that thing again. Don't try that thing again. I'm telling you, don't try that thing again. You try that thing, then you need. You're talking about. Why taking my picture? Why taking my picture? Why taking my picture? What is moving? Go to your picture for that. Why taking my picture? Go to your picture for that. Taking my picture for. Let me come to your picture now, right now, sir. Stand up. Oh my God. Please.
This is not for me. It is not just embarrassing. It is not just, a demonstration of ignorance on the part of the police officer in question, but it also goes with the responsibility on the heads of the Liberal National Police to explain to their members that, listen, this word is evolving. You know what evolving is? If you wake up this morning, you see a different thing in the word. Technology, everything is improving. Everything about this word is enhancing day by day. So now let me give you a few examples. Yesterday, you officer who said people should not take your picture. Today, you have a smartphone. You can sit down on your phone and watch a cesarean section going on. You know what cesarean section is, Mr. Officer, who said somebody should not take your photo? It's an operation section where you see those days, even when a woman is giving birth in the interior, in the age. While we were growing up, you would not even go around that particular house where the woman is giving birth. I'm not talking about you going to see how that process is done, right? But even go around the house, you see women line up and they'll prevent you from crossing that path. The world is evolving. Today, I can sit on my phone and click on YouTube and get cesarean section, and it's going to teach me how delivery is done. Knowledge is now ubiquitous. Ubiquity of knowledge shows that everything you think about that was in hidden yesterday is now out there public. So you can find it. You can go on YouTube. If you don't know how to cook as a lady, you can go on YouTube. You learn how to cook. If you want to learn catering, you can even go on YouTube. You discipline yourself. You take time. You learn how to cater. If you want to learn about computer keyboards, whatever thing you want to think about, you think about in this life that you want to learn right now, go on YouTube. Why aren't the people keeping these things away from you? They are exposing them because knowledge is now exposed. I can say knowledge is vulnerable, right? Except you don't want to learn. If you want to learn, you can pay attention to learn. In less than a week, you can become a good typist just by you downloading an app called Marvis Bacon. But once you have that on your laptop, you can type. That is the exposure of knowledge. In this age and time, for a police officer to not know that if you are in the street carrying out your duty, apart from even that may being a journalist, people can easily record you. People can get you on tape. You don't have to get angry. It speaks to the fact that you guys are not learning. And this is disappointing that Patrick Sudu, Moses Carter, and all of you heads of the Liberal National Police, I think there's a need that you people go every weekend to conduct these kind of workshops for your men. Why will you leave your house in the morning, you get out in the street? Once you get out in the street, everything out there about you out there is exposed. You're out. You're in the public. Do you have privacy in the public space? If you get out there in the public as a police officer and you are discharging, quote unquote, what you consider as a duty. This man said he's a journalist. He's also discharging his duty. Do you know what is the news aspect of it in that particular thing the man was reporting? You know what that man was doing for you as a security man? Some of you, it's because you stopped in the 9th grade. You didn't even graduate from high school. You were incorporated in the police. Secondly, you lack the basic understanding of technology. You lack the basic understanding of the modern world. The war is changing every day. Do you think George Floyd, his situation in America, do you think he would have gotten justice had the people who even recorded that particular video, they were not even security people. They were not journalists. They were just citizens. Why didn't the American police, despite their brutality against people, why didn't they go after the people who are recording? Now you're comparing a journalist now and private citizen who has no responsibility whatsoever to report news anywhere, but he's a citizen journalist too. And you ask a journalist, why are you recording me? So what are you doing, sir? Or you were taking that man car to carry somewhere and requesting money from him? What are you reporting it to the main office? Because that's what you guys do normally. Corruption, King Kong's guys, that's what you guys are. And you attack a journalist simply because he was doing his job? Mr. Patrick Sudo, man, sir, with all due respect, you need to conduct more workshops for these guys because they are total embarrassment. Imagine the other time I witnessed another scene. Family members of St. Mose, of the children who got missing while doing some work for St. Mose, staged a protest at St. Mose. The family members of the missing young people staged a protest. Journalists had gone there to cover the protest. What was police intention to protect? What was the police protecting? To an extent, 2 journalist cameras were destroyed. These guys, no matter how we take them to court, most of them are educated illiterates. They have no understanding whatsoever about modernity. You are in a modern age that you can even sit down on phone today and learn and get a whole course without even entering university. You can get a whole course and you download it, you spend more time, you pay attention, and you learn that thing, you master it. Someone will ask you, which university did you go to? At this age and time, officers are still afraid of camera. Wow. Liberia. Mr. Sudu, is a challenge. Yeah? And until you two, as Inspector General of the Liberia National Police, can be proactive and execute your responsibility by providing further education. Even you need to teach these guys how to engage people, how to speak with people, even drivers. You need to see a police officer stopping a taxi driver and listen to him, listen to his utterances, listen to the first approach. The first thing he's going to ask the man, my man, you stupid, I park here, you can park. If a Western police officer stopped you, even though he's going to take his action later on, right? But he's going to ask, first of all, you want to know, why were you speeding? Sir, is there a problem? What's going on? Are you okay? Are you fine? What's the problem? So these questions are basic welfare questions. They are questions intended to ensure that he knows about your well-being. Once you give him the assurance that you are okay, he starts to deal with you now. So now you want to ask you, so why were you speeding? Since you have told me that you're okay. Now you cannot come back now to tell him, no, you know, and I was thinking about this. You earlier told him that you were okay. But here, whether you were psychologically okay behind that wheel, the police officer is only interested in demonstrating his power. And this is a disgrace to our nation. You are in the street discharging your duty, quote unquote, your duty. The policemen, the journalists even insisted you, the police, to report about this fellow who refused for his car to be towed. Because had he not refused, I'm not too sure our colleague would have gained interest in that particular thing. But this guy refused. Why not use this particular journalist to provide the evidence should this guy reach to that particular headquarters and denies the fact that he fought and retaliated the impoundment of his car? And you've suddenly jump out instead of you don't even know your right from wrong. That's the problem with you guys. Anyway, so we've highlighted a number of things, and this is really frustrating. I'm just recommending to Mr. Patrick Sudu, Inspector General Liberia National Police, that this is not police training. Yeah, invite some of these tech companies, like Lone Star, MTN, or Orange, right? Invite any of these companies, let them come together and teach these officers, some of them, about technology. You can't hide from technology. You are out there in the street discharging your duty simply because you hate one group of people called journalists. When your uniforms get filthy and dirty around here, we advocate for you people to get supplies, and you attack us all the time like we're animals. Some of you are weaklings, and you'll be bad lucky. It's going to be very unfortunate. And I always say this to people. There are some of us, we are journalists, but we are not weaklings. You'll be so unfortunate that you meet the wrong journalist someday, and you'll be flogged, you'll be disciplined in your uniform. I know that journalist is going to feel the pinch as well. He himself going to be prosecuted for that, but at least it's going to be recorded That not all the time you guys coming after people and just beating people for our own responsibilities. You have a duty to provide security for the country. We have a duty to provide information. If you fall in the line of my information, I include you in everything and report it. Anyway, not emotional, by the way. I'm just trying to provide some lecture for these guys. Most of them they're ignorant completely to what they do. We couldn't talk about Eugene Fagon. Oh, Fagon has released a lot of bombshells, of late, and we don't even know what to start from right now. But we have a few minutes to go for our next segment. Let's hear from you now. Call us in the numbers: 07777 077221223. The numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. You're listening to Straight from the Heart on Sky 107.1. My name is Matthias Labindi, welcoming you on today's edition of the program, Straight from the Heart. You can join us now on those numbers: 07777 077 221223, 077221223. At 8 o'clock, we're going to be hearing from some proactive young journalists who've been covering the legislature. By the way, the president of Legispo, Mr. Uligwe Yega, is also going to be joining me here this morning, along with Omaska Jala from Newspaper. They're going to be joining me. We are hoping to also have Gordon Gawe, who is formerly of Prime, but is now with Lagra, to also weigh in on the appointment of the director of communication at the Liberian Senate as Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information. Let's hear from this first person. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthias.
Good morning. Let's hear you.
Yeah, this is Samson Capel calling from Central People.
Go ahead.
Well, you commented on the interaction between the police and some journalists, especially the public. You see, the problem is, Matthias, our society cannot be compared with that of America. Already, most of our people are more hostile to the police. And I don't know why. Even if the policeman will be very polite, I don't really know instead the police. Can you imagine the motorcyclist? Even though the police are not.
Look, I say, excuse me, sir, Mkape. I know that everything you people find some kind of way to defend. Did I talk about motorcyclists here? Right? I'm talking about the assault, the abuse against journalists. So are you trying to say that the journalist also was hostile against the police?
No, I can't say that. But what I mean is that our society, we are hostile to the police. We're not giving them police respect. And because what we do it. Well, the police should be the first citizen to give our respect to.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thanks for your contribution. Let's move on to another person. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthias.
Good morning, sir. Let's hear you.
Yeah, David E. Harris, calling my resident this morning.
Let's hear you, sir.
Matthias, my team was Trojan and our police officer. Trojan was not to tell the police officer, come and for a recording. Can't see the phone, can't see a recording. No. In my mind, the police officer was doing something illegal. That is the reason why he never wanted for somebody to photograph him or record him. Because as a police officer, if you know you're doing the right thing, if anybody try to take your picture or to record you, you'll be proud that you're doing something good for the Liberian public, so the person will have every right to record you. But for me, he was doing something illegal, something that was not right. That was the reason why he was aggressive on the journalist. And there's a call to all police officers in Labrador. People will have to stop violating journalists' rights, assaulting journalists. It is wrong. You're always in the habit of carrying on such acts. People have the desire for it.
Okay.
Thank you very much this morning, my child.
Thanks for your contribution as well. Let's move on to this other person. Good morning. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Call us on the numbers 0777 777 107, 0777 221 Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Matthias. This is Jerry Taylor.
Let's hear you, Jerry.
Yeah, you see, my brother, what's going on in Liberia? Most of these people defender and the sedition. One, the government is doing the wrong thing and And if police are doing the wrong thing, they will always come out in defense of them. Like, let me tell you something. What these guys are doing, somebody, like, when you're seeing the police guy is, the journalist is trying to take the picture, and that, even that picture will help them. Even while the guy was going under the car and whatsoever, if we, journalist taking a picture, it will help him. But when you see, if he's suspicious that because he's not doing the right thing as a serial caller or thing, what man doing, you let the journalist to do a work. But first of all, they don't want to see the journalist doing the right thing. Like, typical example, they found time when the kid is full auditor. Everything, they said no. In fact, these guys, they were not killed. And in fact, the other people, they went to where to do women and get them business. So everything that they do here, they always support the government in a way. So if you live like that,
thank you so much, my brother. We have to leave it like that and join the Voice of America for 5 minutes of news. And we come back, we're hoping that we're going to be having our guest in studio to tell us. This morning, we want to screen this individual that is being preferred by the president to serve as Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs after the dismissal of Minister Eugene Fagon. My name is Matthias Labindi, and you're listening to Straight from the Heart on Sky 107.1.
Agreement with UN atomic watchdog over access to surveillance footage at its nuclear sites. The remarks by the spokesman of the foreign ministry on Monday comes after a 3-month deal between Tehran and international nuclear inspectors to preserve video data at the country's atomic installations expired last week. Following a 1-month extension, Iran began limiting the access to inspectors from the UN atomic watchdog to its nuclear sites earlier in the year. It's part of a pressure campaign on the West over Iran's tattered 2015 nuclear deal with world powers. The U.S. Defense Department says its military conducted airstrikes Sunday against what it says were facilities used by Iran-backed militia groups near the border between Iraq and Syria. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby says the militias were using the facilities to launch unmanned aerial vehicle attacks against U.S. troops in Iraq. Kirby says the U.S. military, under the direction of U.S. President Joe Biden, targeted 3 operational and weapons storage facilities, 2 in Syria, 1 in Iraq. He is describing the airstrikes as defensive, saying that they were launched in response to an ongoing series of attacks by Iran-backed groups targeting U.S. interests in Iraq. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Israeli Foreign Minister Yair Lapid met in Rome Sunday as their new governments look to turn the page on former President Donald Trump and former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, whose close alliance aggravated partisan division. Trump sidelined and Biden and Prime Minister Naftali Bennett have diplomacy. This is VOA News. Pyongyang expressed worry over North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un becoming thinner at recent public activity, according to state-run television. And the footage aired by KRT on Friday, which Reuters cannot independently verify, Pyongyang residents were seen watching a big screen on the street showing a concert which Kim and party officials attended after the meeting of the Workers' Party of Korea. Earlier in the month, KRT also released video of Kim attending a party meeting that showed him looking visibly thinner compared to footage said to be from about 4 months ago. The UN envoy to the Middle East says shipments of Qatari-funded fuel into the Gaza Strip will resume for the first time since last month's 11-day war between Israel and Gaza's militant Hamas rulers. The move indicates a return to the informal understandings between Israel and Hamas in recent years, in which the Islamic militant group traded calm for much-needed aid and development projects in the blockaded territory. The UN envoy says the fuel will be delivered to Gaza's Seoul power plant. The Israeli military confirms the deliveries without saying who is actually paying for the fuel. Police say suspected militant fatally shot a police officer, his wife, and their daughter in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Police said anti-India militants entered the officer's home in the southern area late Sunday and fired indiscriminately at those inside. The officer was killed immediately while his wife died a few hours later in the hospital. The 23-year-old daughter died in the hospital early Monday. In a statement, police labeled the incident a terror attack. The Himalayan region of Kashmir is divided between India and Pakistan and claimed by both in its entirety. Rebels have been fighting against Indian rule since 1989. Mexican authorities say 8 more suspects have been arrested for alleged involvement in gun attacks earlier in the month that killed 19 people in the northern Mexico border city of Reynosa, nearly all of whom appeared to be innocent bystanders. The arrest brought to 13 the number of people detained over the June 19th attacks that left 4 gunmen and 15 civilians dead. One alleged gunman was detained after being wounded during the shootings, and 4 others were arrested at midweek. At least 7 people were killed, more than 50 people injured in an explosion in the Bangladeshi capital late on Sunday. The cause of the blast, which occurred on the ground floor of a 3-story building on a busy street, was not immediately known. There is more at voanews.com. Again, voanews.com. Via remote, I'm Tommy McNeil, VOA News.
Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia.
Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. Liberia, oh Liberia, oh Liberia, wake up. Oh, Liberia, wake up, oh. Do something, oh Liberia, try to settle things the way we stop it. Maybe it's all we need in our.
And that's right. Unity is exactly what we need in this great country, Mama Liberia. When we all come together as one people, we unite ourselves for a common goal, regardless of our political differences. But if we put Liberia on the top and make it our common denominator, I am very sure we all are going to work sincerely in whatever area of our lives that we find ourselves to ensure that we serve this great country, Liberia. Good morning. Welcome to Straight from the Heart on Sky 107.1. My name is Matthias Labindi, and right now I'm privileged to have with me the president of Legispo. Legispo is the Legislative Reporters Association of Liberia, Mr. Wulogwe Yega. Yega has been for a while now. So we want to start by, before Mr. Jalawa Tompo goes for confirmation hearing, we ask journalists who have interacted with him, whether directly or indirectly, those of you consumer news who have also listened to him responding to issues from the Senate. I know after the analysis this morning, we are going to get your own view. What you make of his preferment, as Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information. Many of us think that role is a critical role to play. The person that should play that role should not be a mild communicator like former Minister Eugene Fagon. Is that the case? What does the current president of Legispo know about Mr. Jalawa Tompo, Director of Communications at the Liberian Senate? We're also hoping to be joined by Omaska Jala. Omaska has been covering the legislature for a while now for newspaper. He's on his way. We are also hoping to speak with Gordon Gawe on the line. I'm going to be reading Gordon's post and a particular interaction that he had with a veteran broadcaster in this country who is an owner of a radio station as well, Mr. Emmanuel Dan, owner of Joy FM. So yes, Gordon, is expected to join us on the line. You don't want to miss it. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Yeager. Mr. President, good morning.
Good morning, Matthias, and I'd like to say good morning to the audience following us this morning. It's good being here on the wet Monday morning.
Thank you so much. And even though I covered the legislature for at least 6 months for Radio Maria, but you're still my president.
That's good.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
How's the job? How is the state radio? Let's begin with your professional life.
Well, relatively things are calm, and we like to again laud the able leadership of Madam Estelle Liberty Kamol, who's spearheading the activities there now at the Liberia Broadcasting System, and her deputies, including my colleagues at the state radio. We're doing very well there.
All right. You'll stay the president, young man, by the way. Esther, by the way, served in that capacity before, the capacity you're serving now as president of Legispool. But currently, you are the president. Well, how does it feel, by the way, leading professionals? You know, you are just one amongst many professionals that serving as president of Legispool does not make you more qualified than every other person. You know, dealing with affairs, dealing with Masca, dealing with other people who are also professional people from different backgrounds with a different mindset. You are a leader playing that role. How does it feel?
Well, firstly, I would like to thank our colleagues at the legislature for reposing the confidence in us today as the president of the Legislative Press Pool, Legispool for short. And as you may be aware, upon taking assignment sometimes back in 2014, prior to the outbreak of the deadly coronavirus, we encountered Madam Estelle Liberty Kamol at that time. She was the president of the Legispool, and running through the ranks and file of her leadership. Later, we had Mr. Nathaniel Debo to come on as the president of Legispool. We also worked with that leadership, and we with the then leadership of Mozart Conan, and Mozart gave way. Today, we are the president of Legispool. So it tells you that we have had a long years of experience on Capitol Hill. We've worked with other leadership, and today we're glad that our colleagues at the legislature have reposed that confidence in us to serve as president. And imagine that under our supervision, we are able to coordinate the affairs of our colleagues there. And shortly, we're expected to go to election. So maybe some will say Yega is outgoing president.
But would you want to contest again?
Well, we don't have further intent to contest or recontest the election. So we will actually give way to other colleagues who have that ambition or desire or capability, of course, to come on and serve as or take over if they are elected by the general body of Legispool. They will be given the opportunity, like Yega was given the opportunity some 2 years back to steer the affairs of Legispool. So we hope that we will have a very peaceful conduct of our elections. And again, we'd like to say thank you to our colleagues, the great Omaska Jala. You have likes of Herman Kamol. You have
these are good men.
Dockers, and the leadership. It was interesting to know that. James Karumon being the secretary, we have Jackson Prince for Fire as the assistant secretary, Agnister as the financial secretary, and Dockers from Lena serve as the vice president.
I'm glad that you have women, in your leadership a lot. So that's gender balance.
Obviously.
But having worked, at the covered the legislature for some time now, and you saw the leadership of Estelle Liberty, Nathaniel Debo, Musa Kane. Now you are there, so meaning you've been covering the legislature, particularly the lower house for Radio Maria. I was always in the communication office for the lower house, right? I was always there interacting with the communication director and deputy.
Mr. Asserat.
Yeah, Mr. right.
Now deputy.
Yeah, deputy at the RBS, right? So I'm asking this question first as a reporter. Did you have the opportunity before assuming this role to interact with the director of communications at the Senate, Mr. Jarawa Tompo?
Well, all of the directors are very accessible when you go to the Capitol, whether you cover the Liberian Senate or you cover the House of Representatives. One way or the other, you have to come in contact with either directors, because sometimes they are called meeting, and so both directors will have to turn up and give some briefing. Sometimes we have some
a little chip chat before session, and you have the interact. Some of the directors, they try to provide some way forward. So whether you cover the Senate, the Liberian Senate, or you have an opportunity to cover the House of Representatives, certainly you have that interaction, the closeness. They will always have, unveil themselves to us. And so it's not a difficult task to see maybe the director at the House of Representatives or to see the director at the Liberian Senate.
And you know, one would say that, Matthias, do you really think that Yega is going to give you any critical analysis of Jarawa Tompo when he's still the head of Legispo? Well, I don't expect anything than a fair analysis from Yega. Yega, tell us about Jarawa.
But Matthias, it's good that you invite other colleagues of Legispo who will give a fair analysis of who Mr. Tompo is and who will know Mr. Tompo to be, because given the situations and the circumstances, you know, there will always be some different kind of interaction. And whenever there is a different kind of interaction, you depend on the leadership now, you know, to find a way out. And so whether Matthias, as a reporter, has some problem with the director of press, the final end to finding a conclusion to that matter will be the leadership, certainly.
So you've had some interaction with Jarawa Tompo. When you woke up to the news that the Deputy Information Minister was dismissed, and in less than 24 hours, Jarawa Tompo's name surfaced on the Executive Mansion website, what came to mind? What were a few things that were reading through your mind?
Well, the first thing, I'd like to commend the president, President George Weah, for the confidence reposed in Mr. Tompo, seeing him amongst different communicators in our country, and appointing him to said position is a laudable one, especially for us who've worked with Mr. Tompo in life. Nobody will suggest that they want to go down the line. Everyone will pray that they excel in life. And so I think the preferment of Mr. Tompo to said direction is an elevation of his career, is an elevation of his credential in the process. And so, you know, we'd like to commend the president for being far-sighted and seeing Mr. Tompo as the best who can replace the former public affairs at the Ministry of Information.
Now, you know the difference between the different roles between Director of Communications at Liberian Senate and Deputy in Public Affairs. That person has a lot to respond to daily as compared to Director of Communication at Liberian Senate. This new role, this role that he's about to assume, you know, though he's a communicator, what do you think? Is he that, you know, aggressive communicator, as people expect a lot to see from, you know, people who serve in that capacity to be more aggressive in responding to issues? You think Jarawa is that person?
Well, Matthias, again, you know, it's a good thing to understand that every job will come with a term of reference.
Yeah.
And so, given that Mr. Tompo served as a communication director, he had a term of reference to work with. And so at the Liberian Senate, there were specific issues that Mr. Tompo was looking out for. Now that Mr. Tompo has been given another task, of course, to go and perform at the Ministry of Information, certainly, you know that there will be some other, you know, issues that will be inculcated into his function as Director of Press, as Public Affairs at the Ministry of Information. So I know certainly that he will familiarize himself with the different outcomes at the Ministry of Information and be able to be on top. Everyone will expect that.
And you trust that he would definitely, you know, perform.
Over the years, I think were we to talk about his contribution, you know, certainly that even the gone election at the President of Liberia, Mr. Tompo chaired that election committee, and one would say there was a positive outcome of the election. Today, the President is seated, and there's a representation of the President. And so it tells you to his ability of performing at the larger extent.
Okay, now we have Omaska Jala of the newspaper. I consider him as a staff writer, by the way, at the newspaper. He's been there for a while now. He's covered the legislature too. I know he's interacted with Mr. Jarawa Tompo. Omaska, I want to go straight, you know, to the point. What do you think? Jarawa is Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Dexinate. You cover the legislature. Are you excited that he's one of you and he's now assuming such a role? Are you not excited because he's not a fluent communicator? What do you think about him?
Thank you. Thank you for the invite. First of all, we more appreciate the president for such an appointment. Before going to the point, you sounded professor this morning on the LMP. I don't know whether you are a professor.
Yeah, trying to provide them some education.
Maybe we could do the recommendation that you could provide to or more. To the point, Jarawa Tompo appointment, I was one of the few persons that I congratulated him, and that's a good thing to do. But again, on the other hand, we are looking at it from two folds, right? One is Jarawa Tompo served as the press director at the Liberian Senate. He's not noted by me personally. That's my personal about it. He's not noted by me to be the kind of vigorous talking type. Moreover, the position he's to be occupied very shortly requires some robust, talking person. And you should understand the issue of public affairs. Public affairs should be someone whose interaction with the public or responding to issue will be able to build the image of the government, not just the image, but a very strong image of the government. Yeah, Jarawa Tompo is a nice gentleman. He's a good guy. We've been working together over the years, like Yeg regularly said. And he being very making himself available to the press at some point in time. But when it comes to the area where he's going to occupy currently, there
you have some doubts.
Relatively may have some doubts because I know him from the Liberian Senate to be the former press director. But when it comes to that position, like the former director of public affairs used to interact once interact with robust responding to issues.
You're talking about Fagon now.
Fagon. I mean, somehow we might find it relatively difficult to see Jarawa Tompo being so robust. Because if you know somebody
what do people think that what I don't get is that what do people think that deputy minister position you need to go beyond the usual communication style and assume a different character?
Yeah, simply because you are building the image of the government. You should be a strong talking person.
So the image of the government
and the country, because when the image of the government is built, automatically the image of the country is built.
It cannot be built.
I mean, there's something we call damage control. I'm sure you know about it. We are all journalists in this room here. There's something you call damage control. So when it comes to the issue of damage control, you should be looking at somebody with strong talking spirit, right? That'll be able to manage issue that perhaps it shouldn't go out there in the public, or manage issue in a way that it will be satisfactory to the government and that of the public. Man, you are serving our public affairs. So you are not only going to be talking for the government, but the public as well. So when you are speaking, have at the back of your mind that you will also be talking for the public as well. So your conversation is not only going to be satisfactory to the government, but also to the satisfactory. Jarawa Tompo, like I said earlier, he's a fine gentleman. He's a good gentleman. That a rigorous talking. He's going to occupy, as I said earlier, it requires a robust
interaction.
Yeah. Perhaps it is possible that your boss might assign extra tasks to you that requires you go beyond just the normal way you're talking, and then go and manage this, go and do this in the public space. And then obviously you have to do that. You will need extra talking strength.
Oh, Masca, let me hold you there. I want to connect something to that you just said. Maybe it's in line with what you're saying. But before that, I just want to inform you that Jarawa Tompo is a lecturer at the African Methodist Episcopal University.
Very well.
He's lecturing mass communication. I don't know whether were you able to say that?
Certainly.
Okay,
I had a semester with him.
All right. So now, Gordon J. Garwe, formerly of Prime FM, he said, Deputy Minister for Public Affairs isn't no small role. Why? I mean, why? So I think he's doubtful. Yeah, so now, but this is why I just want to take one particular, individual comment from here that he got back to back with.
Okay.
Emmanuel K. Banks, the first. He said, this is disrespectful to Jarawa. That man has serious media understanding for far more than you. All right, so this argument is long. Now, Gordon J. Garwe came back to say, Emmanuel K. Banks, the position deputy for press and public affairs is not one teller position at UBA. My post isn't any way a disrespect to the senior man as you want to insinuate. Did I question his credential? No. I think he's too soft to handle the responsibilities at hand. Your failure to respect, okay, let me not go to their personal stuff, right? So now Gordon believes that Jalawa is soft. You come across that same way too, right?
I saw that comment and I saw that post on Gordon and Gordon left it open. He said why, right? So now you see one of the reasons for which Liberia things might not go as expected by the public or by citizens, it is because a lot of us who don't just speak truth to power. I'm referring to Dan's comment on
Gordon post.
On Gordon's post. We know he has the experience, but being a professor in the classroom is different from that of going to serve in government as press and public affairs director. You see. There are a lot of issues you'll be responding to, unlike that of the classroom. Yeah, nobody is saying he's not. We all know he's a professor. He's a lecturer at the university. There are a lot of issues you're going to be responding to on behalf of the government, unlike that of the classroom. You see.
But Omaska, this man served as director of communication at Liberia Senate. Didn't he play that role effectively to the expectation of other journalists like you?
You should look at the difference in the different taxation in the various assignment, right? Jalawa Tompo has been one person. I said earlier when
I invited you guys to give me your personal opinion.
That's my personal opinion. Jalawa Tompo has been one person, even from the days I used to cover the both houses before my colleague now, Tonita Copson. I used to cover the House and the Senate. If you say you are serving as director for press for an institution, especially a government institution, your interaction with the people, your interaction with your colleagues or your general or those are assigned to that particular branch of government should be very fluent, should be very,
it hasn't been that way.
It hasn't been that way. Number one is that Jalawa Tompo normally after session, we generally we can run to get document. But Jalawa Tompo has not been proactive in that capacity.
Hold on.
In terms of, let me just end my talk before we can get there. In terms of getting document, it is based on a document that we can get from there. We'll be able to write a fluent story.
Given his background as a media person, I don't think you guys should be having issues with that, with acquiring certain documents to ensure that you complete your research and do your story.
You don't think it's relative, that's why you say you don't think, but it is very important.
That's how
you guys are good winners, and other guys, I'm sure, all of some of our colleagues are monitoring. I'm sure they will call to tell you that it is very important. At point in time, we stay to the Capitol building after session beyond it.
As Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, where every time Matthias is only other people.
I'm sure you covered the legislature for a few times, at least 6 months. And then
for the lower house.
I'm sure you got.
I had a good interaction with Director.
Very well. That's good. And I'm sure you also realize that the 30% you're talking about the document too, that has not been the case always. At some point in time, we get. Let me just learn. We're speaking generally now. I'm discussing document from the of the press bureau now, right? So it is also possible that we can yearn for a single document, and all of us can do a photocopy of that single document. So not necessarily the director of press. We have to get 30 copies of communication to 30 journalists. Not necessarily that.
I get that point. I get it. But let me just hear from Mr. Yeager. When I asked the question in Omaska's analysis, if Jalawa Tompo had not been able to effectively deal with journalists while he was representing 30 senators.
But you say effectively.
In the analysis of the colleague, you just listen to your colleague. So you just be taking points from what he said, right? If he could not represent, the journalists there effectively, 30 senators representing 30 senators, how can he serve as Deputy Public Affairs and effectively represent government? From your analysis, do you have any issue with some of the things that Omar?
And I'm quite sure
please, let me hear
Matthias, listening to this broadcast, and what we intend to achieve here is to have a proper message disseminated to the public. Now, at the House of Representatives, comparison with the House of Representatives because they work similarly.
Sure.
So at the Liberian Senate, let's start off with the Liberian Senate, then I come to the House of Representatives. At the Liberian Senate, journalists who are accredited have an opportunity to sit in the gallery, the press gallery. There's a portion allotted to journalists.
Yeah.
And that portion that is allotted to journalists, whether you're from the print media or you're from the broadcast media, you have an opportunity. There is a speaker placed beside the journalist for audio recording. Television journalists are allowed to have access to the main floor where the senators are. So you have that absolute privilege to interact with the senators. And so for journalists, print and radio stations, they are stationed beside the speaker. And so as a journalist, you know, you have your equipment. For instance, you have a recorder or you have a notebook and an ink pen. You sit beside that speaker. And when communications are being read, you have that opportunity to record whatever is the communication that has been proffered. Following that, then you go back to the newsroom and sit and probably transcribe whatever is the outcome of the deliberation of the body. Now, at the House of Representatives, same is applied. Journalists are seated in the press gallery, communications are read, recordings are done, and people go back to their respective offices and packaged for whatever presentation it is. Now, what Omascad is talking about, and I just like to provide a bit of clarity to that, is when you have the communications read, for instance, some of those communications are very sensitive documents, some are large documents that you need to peruse and take your time to have a proper analysis of what is the subject matter. And so sometimes journalists will seek the permission of the Press Bureau to have the Secretary of the Liberian Senate provide said document because it's a public document. The fact that we have audio recording, then sometimes you tend to go for the hard copies. Now, it is a bit difficult too to have all of those documents come immediately because the Press Bureau is under the obligation to compile their document or compile some level of information for public dissemination. For instance, maybe they want to write a press statement immediately on whatever is the matter so that there's a bit of clarity to the public. Why it is true that all of the independent media will have to go out and take their stories from different angles, but the Press Bureau will want to have a clearer picture of what has taken place at the Liberian Senate. And so there is a guy who's responsible for photocopying. Sometimes you go there, I show you interact with him. So sometimes when the Press Bureau goes for the document and come out, it's a bit late.
So what you're saying now is that it's not Jalawa Tompo.
No, it's not just a very difficult situation. It's not just a very difficult situation to have those documents come to the journalists. Often as possible, if Henry Kamo was to call here today, he will tell you, sometimes you go to the photocopier area, you pay for it, and they give it to you.
Who would you blame that to? Is it proactiveness of the leadership? Someone is not monitoring, the responsibility of those who work along with him?
So I spoke about the House of Representatives. At the House of Representatives, following session, you have someone who's taxed from the Press Bureau to go and pick the documents from the document come. Every time, no, they don't present the copies to journalists.
Except
when those documents come, it is taken to the photocopier area. It's been photocopied, and a copy of each of the different documents will be left at the photocopier end. And so you are on an obligation. Matthias works for Sky FM, and you need a copy of the communication. You go and request it.
Has that been the case proactively at the Senate too?
Well, that's what I said to you. So those documents are read, comes out to the press bureau. The press bureau take it out, do the photocopying, and leave respective copies.
What do you make of Gordon's reaction to the appointment of the big brother and his back-to-back interaction with the media executive as well, Emmanuel Down, that this man is so soft to field in that party? Because that's the point that many people are raising now. That's where Omaska also came from too. What do you think about that?
Gordon is entitled to his opinion. And I respect his opinion. He's entitled to that. Now, I really don't want to turn on on what Gordon posted.
No, not that you're not responding to him directly, but I'm trying to I'm just drawing something that given all the points they are making too. What do you think? Is he a soft man to occupy that role, or is someone with qualification and immediately he takes over that particular place?
The qualification.
You know, he's going to adjust.
What do you think? The first thing is,
in
my opinion, Jalawa Tombo is qualified for the job. Like any other citizen of our country.
Agreed.
The second portion of it is, and I said to you from the onset, that every job has come with a different responsibility. I did mention the Senate situation. At the Liberian Senate, he had a different term of reference. At the Ministry of Information, there is a different tax that has been afforded him this time.
And he's going to
effectively execute.
You trust?
Now we have to also understand the workings of the Ministry of Information. Now, Matthias has a different way of presenting this show. If it was Omaska given the chance, maybe Omaska comes from the print media, his way of presentation is going to be maybe.
And even you from the radio will present it differently. So what's the point?
So I'm saying to you, now, under the then administration, I understand that Mr. Fakon worked both with Eugene Nankwe, now Commissioner General at the Maritime, and then Mr. Ledger Hureni, who is the former Director General of the Liberian Broadcasting System. Now, Jalawa Tombo is going to start under the leadership of Mr. Ledger Hureni. What are the policies being instituted at the Ministry of Information? We have to understand, then coming and having a conclusion, because maybe people may be right that Jalawa Tombo doesn't go to the or goes to the Ministry of Information and he doesn't perform well. That would be a different expectation that have come to fruition. It could be on the contrary, that all of the different views today that Mr. Tombo is soft, Mr. Tombo is this person, Mr. Tombo is that person, and Mr. Tombo goes to the Ministry of Information, he becomes one of those proactive ministers. Then again,
I think what
he's going to sway it away in the next kind of conversation.
So what you're saying, we should give him the chance.
I think what I'm saying in short is Mr. Tombo has not started a job.
We should give him the chance.
Now, there's a common saying.
He's driving that down. I'm sure.
There's a common saying.
So what are you saying? What are you saying now?
That whenever you have never reached the riverside, then you don't say you cross the bridge.
Okay.
You're out of reach there, and then you cross. Then you make a revelation that yes, I've crossed this point.
Sometimes your previous crossing abilities can also make people to determine whether you go.
Yes. Has Jalawa Tombo not been on top of his game? Let me take you back to the protest on Capitol Hill when the staffers at the Liberian Senate started their quest. Tombo was one of those persons. Tombo works for the Liberian Senate. Don't you think?
It's a new fight. He works for the Liberian Senate.
So he was affected also by the harmonization process?
He's a communicator. What role did he play to at least maintain peace between the senators and the workers?
No, Tombo was very effective. He was very effective.
Very effective. It's not a role. What role did he play? I mean, that's the point. Very effective. To the extent
that there was a meeting being convened by the vice president to meet with the staffers. And during that meeting, they had a full representation. Today, what we're talking about, the Senate made a commitment.
Okay. I mean, talking about meeting and all of that, when it comes to the public affairs arm of the Ministry of Information.
Yeah, but he was on the communication.
You're not going to be able to have a meeting with the public. Let me hold you now.
Tombo now communicated very well.
You could be relatively right, but
let me hear you now. But Omaska,
You heard- yeah,
Omaska,
yeah.
do you really have doubts? You're not coming out clear. You're talking about relatively years and this. Do you have doubts?
Yeah, I'm
Be
coming up.
certain about what's your position?
I'm coming up with this relativity because what is good to you may not be good to me. But the point I want to make here is that I think we should stop filibustering around the real issue. Yeager, I don't know. He may mention every job comes with its own responsibility, right?
Which is good.
Now, very good. Now that and that's a good point he struck, right? But now he should also be acknowledged that this press and public affairs opposition Tombo is being nominated to comes with a vigorous responsibility. So that's the point we're making here, right? Tombo being, me tell you, you saw Eugene Fagon. You saw how efficacious you were, right? You saw very effective you were, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very good. And so that's how
until he landed into the situation with the snow.
I'm not going that route. I'm discussing the effectiveness of the position that he occupied before.
Are you doubting Jalawa's ability to adapt? Because every educated person must be able to adjust and adapt to a new environment. That's the point that Yeager is making.
You will not only doubt somebody's ability after you have been with the person for a good number of years, or you will not only doubt the person's ability after you have been with the person for a lesser number of time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what am I saying? I'm saying this to clearly picture that we've been with Jalawa Tomo for a good number of years.
Mm-hmm.
You know me. He knows that. Well, you guys know I've been with him for a very good long time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have good experience working with the Azere, Jalawa Tompo, and now Director Gar. Now, Jalawa Tompo, like I said earlier, the position, let us start beating around the real issue. The position is a very effective and
so what are you saying?
It should be
not fit for it.
It should be occupied with somebody who has effective communication skill.
And Jalawa lacks that.
Knowing how to write is different from that of talking. Jalawa Tompo, I said earlier, he's not a vigorous or rigorous talking type.
Okay,
so the position, you are not only going to defend the government. Now remember, it says deputy press and public affairs. I mean, you also going to represent the government and the public. And then because you are going to represent the government and the public, you should be someone with a good talking skill. A PRO should be that person who will be able to build government's image and public's image. As I said,
let me hold you, gentlemen.
I thought I could just sway because sometimes when you follow sports,
but you know about the position very well. You know about it.
Sometimes
every job comes with its own responsibility. Perhaps the job at the Liberian Senate did not cover that rigorous talking.
Gentlemen, let's we are all journalists in here. We are all broadcasters. So I think people expect that we maintain, No,
it's just about passing the conversation.
But Matthias, like I said, I'm a good follower of sports. I love Lionel Messi at Barcelona.
What's the point?
I'm coming to the point. I love Lionel Messi at Barcelona.
Yeah.
My young man.
Messi has the 6th-time Ballon d'Or award. We play Bayern Munich. The whip of it.
What does it mean?
He had all of the credentials, but yet he didn't perform. Sometimes it's good to give people the opportunity. Let's wait.
So now you are seeing
Jalawa. So the probability in what you just saying that it's possible he doesn't perform, it's possible he performs. But what do you think out there, folks in the public? We have two journalists here. I just read something from Gordon Gawe. Gordon, you're still going to get on this line.
Gordon,
you're still going to get on the line. You're not be posting. You got to say this thing on the air.
Why would Emmanuel Dante going to be respectful? When the man vent out his opinion.
That was so hard.
Anyway, that's how they argue it out. Gordon, I'm calling you. So if you see the missed call, please call back. By the way, so that I need to get your point as well. Emmanuel Dan, if you're also there, Chief, you can also get on. Gordon, let me begin with you first this morning. Gordon, good morning. You're live on Sky.
Good morning, Matthias.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Gordon, I just read your post, and I have Omaska Jala and the president of Legis Pool here. I quickly want to get your view. What do you make of Jalawa Tompo's appointment? You are also in public relation now. Laughing.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Actually, I want to say that my post, because since I made a post, few of my colleagues have been calling and asking me why I have to express what they see as a dissenting opinion on the appointment of the CM brother Jarawa Stompo. My post is not in any way an attempt to honor his appointment. Just how as journalists will scrutinize all presidential nominees, I think it's the same thing that we want to do to our CM brother. I don't know him personally, but I have not followed his work at the legislature. The post, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs, I think he's not.
You need to speak up, Gordon. Coming in, you're fading away.
You getting me now?
Yeah, much better. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying the post, Deputy Minister for Press and Public Affairs is not a post that is a sleeping post. It's a very active post. We saw people like Arthur Jackson. They were very vibrant. Even the Eugene Fagon who just left.
Okay. Gordon, you have to get back on. So now this is the same point. It's talking about you need people who are firebrand, We don't need people who are civic. They're too civic.
Do we also need people to carry on the work effectively?
Exactly. That's another point.
I'm sure you come to the
point. You're not grabbing the concept. But let's hear. No, everyone is coming across different.
Yeah, you just beating around the real issue, and then
you have to make a definite position on this matter.
I just told you the position need rigorous talking person, someone who will be able to build government's image. Active talking person.
Journalists engage the public. We're journalists now.
No, but you know about Tombo for good number. Yes, analysis. He's a fine gentleman. He's a good guy. Yeah, we agree. He's a professor somewhere. Yeah, but when it comes to that, like you regularly say, every job comes with its own responsibility. But this job comes.
They have a university in Liberia.
Like you say, every job comes with its own responsibility. This job comes with active responsibility.
Active and proactive.
Very well. And building government image as well.
Thank you.
Even your own image will be built, Yega. You know that.
Thank you, Umaska. Thank you, Yega. Yega is the president of Legispo. Umaska is the staff writer at a newspaper. You just listen to Gordon. Gordon, I think I ran out of credit. If you can just call back to lend your thought, no problem. But you're here in the big brother Mao down, they argue bitterly. Now, Gordon's point is that position needs a wild communicator. In just paraphrasing, we don't need a civic person that would just be mild. When someone comes hard in government, you can't say no, you're not understand and all that one and thing. But I don't think Jarawa will even be that person. He will certainly transition from being that mild person that people see him to be to a wild communicator. But let's hear from you now, the public, what you think. Journalists are here critiquing, a veteran as well. Let's hear you. Call us on the numbers 077777107. 07777221223, 07777221223, 077777107, 07777221223 are the numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. You're listening to Straight from the Heart and Sky 107.1. You're also following us there online, watching us on YouTube or Facebook. You can also call us on WhatsApp or IMO and be live this morning. We're talking about the appointment of the Director of Communications at the Liberia Senate, Mr. Jarawa Tompo. I've invited some journalists to critique him. Let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Let's hear you.
Yes, I'm Lawrence Kimaya, speaking from Bentley, Sapper Hill.
Mr. Kimaya, please go ahead.
Yeah, I listened to the gentleman in studio. Their critical analysis will be in place. But we are humans. We are not so static. There are innovations that come with certain new environments. And if you are going to school like you or Matthias and the other young journalists in studio, it's a breadwinning situation. That man will not sit down and find a new environment and be a very lackadaisical. I think let's give you a chance. That's why they have probation. I think if you are trying him and he's that robust, then you can find somebody. But that man is looking for bread to be one for his family members. I think he'll do some innovations over there. So let us give him a space to try him. I don't want to get on the way to relax because he was at the Senate and he was on the other side. These are different environments.
Thank you so much.
Probationary terms given on jobs. So let's give you a probation. That's not taken on. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another person there. Quickly, let's take that one. Good morning. Good morning. All right, he said we should put him on probation for now. For how long? Yega will tell us for how long should we put him on probation.
You gotta remember.
Yeah, Yega will tell us. Okay, he said we should give him a try. Let's hear from this other person. Good morning. Call us on the numbers 077777107, 077-221-223 are the numbers. Let me watch the comments here. Okay, no one is particularly commenting on Jarawa Tompo, but it's that the therefore for the later. Emmanuel Buyo.
Yeah, my sympathy, man. I'm sorry.
The information minister.
The historian.
Those regime. He was a working encyclopedia.
Yeah, sure.
Refer to him as a working historian.
I mean, can I just respond to something
our condolences. Our condolences to the family.
Yeah, thank you. The first caller on the line talking about bread, taking bread. Our conversation here is in no way.
Okay, hold on.
We have a caller.
Good morning.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's hear you. All right, that person left.
Thank you. Our conversation is in no way trying to influence the president's appointment. Just about giving our clear analysis as to how we see issue. And I'm quite sure our conversation can never and does not even have the weight to influence the president or decision, because
you're not here to take breath from his mouth, right?
Very good.
Let's hear from this person.
Appointing power lasts with the president.
Yeah, sure. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthias.
Good morning, sir. Let's hear you.
Good morning to the rest of the guys in the studio.
Good morning. Good morning.
My name is Mustafa, and I'm from Pinsville.
Okay.
Mustafa Komen.
Mustafa, go ahead. Mustafa who?
Yes, Mustafa Komen. Mustafa Komen, yes. You're right, Yega.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so the issue of Jalawa being appointed to, I've heard a lot of skepticism. A lot of people are trying to, compare him to that of Fagon, who is a wild speaker, like you guys are trying to be, trying to put it, which is a real. These are real facts. These are two different personalities, all by, themselves. But I have followed Jalawa from the level of the Senate, the way he's conducted himself and the way he's been able to run his own show. People measure the thing intellectual to be a wild speaker, boisterous, aggressive speaker, and so it is not the issue. That's not how you measure an intellectual. You measure an intellectual by the ability to make sense when you speak, and the ability to influence people to agree to what you say.
Very well.
Okay? That's how you measure an intellectual. So you don't have to be a wild speaker. No, you can be a wild speaker if nobody wants to listen to you and you want to make people to listen to you. But what if you have the platform and everybody is wishing to listen to you? Why being wild? So Jalawa could serve that position. He's also a very creative person. He's someone who thinks well. He's someone who articulates well. He can serve that position. He has that pedigree. He has a very good relationship with the media. And I think that's what the people need. That's what the media itself needs. It needs a friend. It needs someone they can relate to, not someone who always talks until you go to the point where you can even insult members of the press. We're not talking about somebody like that to occupy that position. Because that position, it calls for someone who builds a bridge between the press and the government. And there where you find Jalawa.
Thank you, Mr.
So I believe personally as a journalist, who I am as well, I believe Jalawa is best suited for that position. He can talk. He doesn't have to be a fighter, but he can talk, and he can talk the sense. He can push the logic that is required. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Kome. Do we have somebody there also as well? Call us the number 077. He's a journalist. That's his own view. He doesn't have to be assigned a Nika before you give the kind of view he gave. Yega did not give the view because he's a son of Nika. He's some legend.
Then I don't work for Nika.
So
you almost work for Nika now. You don't work for Nika, but you almost work for Nika.
Maska, I think Kume nailed it. Do we have somebody there? Let's squeeze in this person. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Let's hear you.
Thank you. My name is Bill M. Kwesi. And I call you from the office from the Federation of People. Anytime it's a position or to speak and you get a portfolio, you have to provide information to the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So a lot of people trust him. I mean, those who trust him, they are giving their own analysis. And I couldn't agree more with Kome. Some of us, we're not aggressive, right? But we get here and do provide information. So there are some journalists who get on
have to attack
and they are insulted, they attack personality. But the bottom line is people come across from their different views. I also respect Omaska
How
Jala's
to be
point
issue
were-
oriented.
So, gentlemen,
Issues driven.
let me begin with
Yeah.
you guys now as we wrap up. Omaska, beginning with you. You listen to Kume, you listen to other points, and a question just put his point through as well. And several journalists are still reacting to the appointment of Mr. Tombo. Let's conclude with you finally.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
What do you
and-
expect now? In closing, you have to just recommend now to Jalawa some of the new
Yeah,
attributes to exhibit for the new role.
I'm sure I'm driving on that path. I'm
Go
sure.
ahead.
Let me
You have a minute, 30
let me
seconds.
congratulate you for the invite, and we are hoping, despite all of the conversation, all of the opinions on social media, in various chat rooms, but we are hoping that Jalawa Tombo will actually perform. Jalawa Tombo is a fine gentleman. He's a professor at one of the universities around here. He has some human relationship, but my own personal point has been his vigorous conversation. I mean, his vigorous and robust, and more especially to where he's been nominated to. But howbeit and however, I wish him well in his new preferment, and I'm hoping that he will perform up to expectation, and I will be one of the persons to say, oh, I know I had earlier thought that Jalawa Tombo wouldn't have performed, but howbeit he's performing, and that which I will really be satisfied with. So Jalawa Tombo, again, congratulations for your preferment, and please go serve and serve very well to the expectation of the public, not only to the government.
I'm glad that Omaska was able to just overturn some of the different.
Overturn?
Matthias, to the issue now.
The major's
What you
concluded
call
by saying
overturn? No, don't do that.
that this man will
Matthias,
serve.
Don't
Let's
do
hear
that.
it.
I said,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
still hoping.
Matthias.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'd like to.
Mesmerize my conversation.
Omaska, you've landed. You've landed. Yeah.
Sorry.
From the president.
I'd like to say thank you again for the invite. And
Welcome, gentlemen.
once more, I'd like to commend His Excellency President George Weah for the preferment of Mr. Jalawa Tombo to his new portfolio. And we also respect and call on the Liberian Senate to ensure that Mr. Tombo is confirmed when he appears before the,
this
the
guy.
committee. And we also want to call on Mr. Tombo to use the different opinions in the public as a cue to the start of JAB, because there are different assertions in the public, and the only way we can have the different assertions come to rest is based on his performance at the Ministry of Information. And we hope that following his takeover at the Ministry of Information, Mr. Tombo can always remember, as deputy Minister for Public Affairs, he can always remember Lecture School, because we've been a very good friend to Mr. Tombo over the years. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you guys, and it's always a pleasure having an interaction with my media colleagues. You know, every time we interact with politicians, and I think about the fact that there are some other issues too that we journalists can weigh. In this particular one, we are the ones that are to guide the public on who this individual is. I'm still going to have this conversation with another set of journalists before his confirmation hearing, and even after the confirmation hearing, we're going to follow closely. You know, when you are a journalist now, Matthias leaves the radio today, and somewhere as public relation officer, people expect nothing less than professional public relation, discharge of my public relation duties there. So if I blunder, they say, the time that guy's out on the radio, man, I don't know looking. Whenever we have to go. But this morning, for those of you who think that freedom is something, it's just an expression, I just want to say to you, freedom, give him the freedom to do the things that he likes. Do not box him. Do not choke him in the neck. The truth is, if he really loves you, I'm talking about in relationship now, for those of you women who think that giving your man freedom is a problem, or you guys who think that giving your lady freedom is a problem, give him or her freedom to do the things that he or she likes. Do not box him or her. Do not choke him or her in the neck. The truth is, if he truly or she truly loves you, he or she will never do things that will hurt you. So just ensure that, hey, honey, I'm going out. Okay, be safe, yeah? Come back home, on time. So make sure that you also understand that letting the person to go, usually in a home where you have children sometimes try to pick on food and steal, they will always give the item to the guy who is stealing it, to keep it. So when he's keeping it, he's not going to steal it because he's the one keeping it. You keep it from yourself, all right? So if you give this person freedom, that do the things you want to do. If you love me, you're not going to hurt me. If you love this country and you have the freedom to be a lawmaker, regardless of your age, your qualification, some of you are education first. Some of you are frustous academically. So, but yet we give you people the opportunity to serve. If you have that time to serve, please serve properly. Do not hurt us because we give you freedom. My name is Matthias Labindi. Join us this afternoon from 3 to 4 for another fascinating edition of the program, Nothing to Hide.
Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Wake up, Mama Liberia. Labirens, oh Labirens, oh Labirens, wake up. Labirens, oh Labirens, oh Labirens, wake up. Labirens, oh Labirens, wake up.